And that's the only way you can know anything, by translating one thing into another modality. You can get a perspective and put this rock and roll experience into a meaningful pattern. And then that might, if you really get my point, you'll be so stoned on this insight that you actually could stop listening to music. Because part of the addiction is they're trying to find out why they like it. And you can't do it if you just use your eye and your ear. You've got to understand what tactility is and how electric music is tactile. And then you have to see how to look at it. And you look at it through Finney's wig. So, for the example, the relevance of Lewis. Lewis, had lots of friends who were artists. And there's the story that he would go over and look at a friend's painting, go into the guy's studio, and he would stand there with his feet solidly planted in front of the painting and stare at it for a long time. Then remove himself from looking at the painting and leave the studio without making any comment. And as people ask him, why don't you ever comment? And he says, a non-verbal art does not require verbal response. His eye is looking at an eye expression, the painting, and he's only going to have an eye response, no verbal response. So he was trying to keep the art separate. He knew the modalities, understood the implosion and the tactile effect that was happening, but he said, no, the eye must remain solid. He's a fanatic of the eye, a fundamentalist of the eye. And so he broke up the senses that were merging under electric conditions, where Joyce obviously took the other mode. He imploded them, creating the stream of consciousness of Ulysses, and then the more fantastic style of Finney's Wake, where there's not one word readable. He implodes all the senses. So Wyndham Lewis is giving an eye response. Now, he's representing traditional Western culture, an eyeball culture. And when the eyeball culture has to respond to the tactile electric environment of rock, that culture will want the eye to be represented. Look at that great line, maybe the greatest line in Finney's Wake. On page 52 in the middle of the page, television kills telephone and brothers broil. The eyes demand their turn. Let them be seen. So you'd have to take the writing about music is like dancing about architecture. No, writing about music is not dancing about architecture in a visual culture, in an alphabetized literary culture. Writing is the only way the literary culture can approach music.
Is the television kills telephony? Is that a precursor to video killed the radio?
Yeah, as the deeper you get into Finney's Wake, there's not one idea since the book came out in '39 that is not already in the Wake. That's what the incredible thing is. So yeah, video killed the radio star is a replay, a quoting, unknowingly, of the patterns laid out in Finney's Wake. And the best translator of those patterns was McLuhan. And McLuhan, here's the interesting point, McLuhan learned how to look at the Wake on a personal level, like who was his mentor? His mentor was Wyndham Lewis. He met him, talked to him, promoted him during the war in St. Louis. When McLuhan was teaching down there, you see how it's interesting. Who meets who is important. Who you get to know is probably predestined, or if you're going to be follow your path, your joy, it's the connections that are interesting. Who meets who and who does what.
Yeah.
The record with its controversial sleeve will be released next month. An official of the Beatles Apple Company said last night, the sleeve has not been censored or altered in any way.
This Ono H34 is named in a forthcoming definitive divorce between Cynthia Lennon and Mr. Lennon's wife.
It is being distributed, but it may be that some record shops will still